Hey artists, we're making these beautiful winter birds today. Follow along with me. I'll show you all the steps to create your own. All right, the first thing we're going to do is fold this paper in half. And I like to draw a little line down the middle, so I remember I'm only going to make my lines on half. So this half will stay empty, and this half I'll do some different kind of line designs. Just some different fun lines. You can use your black crayon. You can also use your white crayon, which will be really hard to see now. But then you'll be able to see it when you put the paint over the top. Okay, so I've just put some fun line designs with a white and black crayon on one side, and on this side I left it blank. We're going to use liquid watercolor to make this paper look really neat. This is the paper we're going to use to create our birds. I'm only going to paint one half at a time. So if I'm going to start with this half, I'm going to put water on it first so I can do a watercolor wash. So I make sure I get water all over this page, and then I add my colors in. And then it just kind of goes on real smooth. Look at that, I can see where I put the white crayon coming through there. And I'm just going to choose some different colors that I would like for my bird. And then maybe one more color. That is almost the same yellow, so maybe I'll put some orange in there. That's nice. Beautiful. Now, while my paper is still nice and wet, if it's dry, this doesn't work, but while it's still nice and wet with the water and the paint, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of salt to add some texture. Once I put the salt on, I can't touch it anymore. I have to let it dry. So while that side is drying, I'm going to work on this side. Again, my first step is to get the paper nice and wet and then add my color. And it's okay if you see some of the color from one side come onto this side. That is all right. Okay, I've got the paper nice and wet, so I can add my colors. I love a watercolor wash, the way the paint just moves with the water. And I'm just adding more color until this whole side of my page is also covered in color. Okay, once I'm satisfied with that, and I know it is wet still with the paint and the water, I can add the salt, and that is going to add some really neat texture. So when this paper is all done, you're going to go put that on the drying rack and let it dry, and you're going to move on to working with your trees. Okay, I put a messy mat here because we want to make sure we don't get paint all over the table. And you're going to get 2 long pieces of white paper. And if you looked at the birch trees, you know that they are white bark with a little bit of kind of black dots and lines and different little black accents. So what we're going to do is we're going to paint with a piece of cardboard. You're just going to dip into the cardboard, and you can kind of tap on the plate just to get off a little bit of that extra paint. All right, and then we are ready to paint. You're going to take this and scrape and pick up. So kind of go across the page and pick it up. Leave a space, scrape and pick up. I haven't even had to dip back into the paint yet because I like that kind of dry look. I might get a little bit more. I want to leave a space and a space. Now I like to turn it over, and I'll do a little bit on the opposite side. Scrape, space, scrape, leave a space, and one more. And then you can just take kind of the extra that's left over, and you can put some little straight lines going across, just like we see on the real trees. And that looks like a real trunk of a birch tree. You're going to do that again on your second piece of white paper. So again, you dip, and then you're going to scrape and leave a space. Scrape, leave a space. Because the whole tree isn't going to be black. There's mostly white with just some of these black areas. I like to turn it over so I can keep going from left to right. That's easiest for me. You can do it however it works easiest for you. But I'm scraping and leaving a space. And then I can go back in and tap a few lines. Perfect. Our trees are looking wonderful, and now we can move back to the other part of our project. All right, now that this is dry, I'm going to use my marker to outline my bird's body, or you could draw your own bird. It's up to you. I have some different like stencils where you could outline the bird's body, or if you feel like you can draw a nice big bird, you could freehand draw it as well. So I want to do the bird's body on the plain half, and I'll save this for the wings and the tail and things like that. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to turn it over, knowing that this side is where I want to put the bird's body. And I'm just going to take this tracer, take my marker, and go around the outside of the tracer. Just like that. And then I'm going to cut out the bird's body. So I'm just going to cut around this. And now I'm going to have this amazing bird body shape. Now, since this is the back, if you wanted to try to draw that bird shape, you could do that as well. You would just take your piece of paper. So we would just pretend that this is the back of this. And if you wanted to try to freehand your own bird, you would do an oval shape for the body, and then you would do a round shape for the head and a triangle shape for the beak. And if you wanted it to look like kind of a cardinal or a blue jay, you could put that little feather on top of its head as well. And so then I would just kind of smooth that out a little bit, and I would cut out that shape, and that would also have that bird shape. That would look great. So it's an oval, a circle, and a few lines to make your bird. But once you cut out the bird body shape, then you need wings and a tail, and that's where this comes in really well. I found this one that's kind of a wing and a tail combined, and so I could have something like that on my bird, or you could do a wing that is separate, and then you could also add a tail separate. Now you could use the tracers to do that, or you could create your own wing and tail. So maybe I'll create my own. I've got my side with the lines is going to look really good for this. And so for a wing shape, it's going to be like a half circle, and then it would just kind of come down, and maybe some bumpy lines for those feathers. And for the tail shape, maybe we want a nice long tail. And so I would go like this and make some little feathers and have it come back. So if you want to use a tracer shape, you can, or if you want to draw your own, that works as well. And we're going to cut these out. And we're going to use these to add to our bird. And our bird is just going to be so beautiful and colorful because of all of the color and texture we have. Look at that. There's that beautiful tail. And here's a really cool wing. All right, there's my wing. There's my bird's tail. Whoa, that is looking really cool. And if there's anything else you want to add, like if you wanted like a little feather plume on top of his head, you could add some little feathers if you wanted like that. So if you wanted to have some feathers up here, kind of like on a blue jay or a cardinal, you could have some, or maybe you want to cut out a different color for the beak. I could leave it just that blue, but I could take some of the colored paper that we made and I could add a different color if you wanted. That's totally up to you. And so the other thing we can do with our bird is add the detail of the eye with our black marker. So I like to make a circle and I just leave a little space right there to show the shine. And then I can also put the little beak. Maybe I'll put a little line around the eye there. I am loving my bird. So once you are satisfied with your bird, we're going to go ahead and take our bird and get those birch trees and start putting all of this together. All right, we're going to choose a color of paper for the background. I chose gray because I'm thinking about a winter day, but if you wanted to do yellow for like a sunnier day, or you wanted blue for the background, or you wanted pink to make it look like a sunset, that is totally your choice as well. We have our 2 pieces of paper that we turn into our birch trees, and we're just going to take our glue and we're going to go ahead and glue these onto our background. So I'm going to take a very thin line of glue around the edge of both of my trees. We do not want a ton of glue, just a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to take my tree and turn it over and put it right on here. And here's my other tree. Okay, then using a black crayon, I'm just going to add some branches to my tree. So it's like coming off of here. Here's a branch. So we're just kind of drawing a straight line and then some little kind of squiggly lines to look like the branches coming off of the tree. If you push too hard on a crayon, it will break. Whoops. All right, there are the trees with our beautiful branches. And now we are ready to go ahead and add our bird. So we're gonna take our bird and we're going to put a little bit of glue on the back. And you gotta decide where you would like your bird. I think I want him right sitting on this branch right here. So I'm gonna glue my bird down. Oh, he's coming up. This is a really thick paper we use, so it might take holding it down a little while to get it to stick. Then I'm gonna put some glue on the back of my beautiful wing and add that to my bird. And then I'm going to put some glue on the tail. And we're gonna go ahead and put the tail on the bird. I'm gonna tuck that right underneath. Look at that beautiful bird. And so the next step is adding some snow for our bird in our birch tree. All right, we've got our bird, we've got our trees. I was thinking one thing you might want to add are his little feet. Birds have 2 feet, just to show that our bird is standing on the tree. Now, we've got our teeny tiny paintbrush and our white paint, and we're not glopping down, we're just putting little dots, and we want to start up at the top so that way we're not resting our arm in the snow because we'll get that white paint on us. But we're just going to go around, kind of starting at the top. You can put some little snowdrops right on our tree on the black parts to show that there's snow coming down. Definitely we want lots of snow on our paper for the background. And you're just barely touching little dots to show those little dots of snow. And we will have a couple dots of snow on the bird. Not a ton, just a few to show that the snow is falling right in front of your beautiful bird. And we're really focusing on getting the little drops of snow all over the background. These are going to look so wonderful. So you're just dipping into your paint and putting a few snowdrops coming down from the sky on our snowy day with our beautiful bird. And I want to put a couple drops on my tree and then coming down in the sky. And we're just filling up our picture with lots of snow. All right, now I have my snow coming all the way from the top of my picture all the way down to the bottom. You can see my beautiful birch trees in the winter. You can see the snow falling and that beautiful bird we made out of our painted paper with the really cool designs on the wing and the tail. And I can't wait to see the winter birds that you create.